What is up, everybody? I'm looking at you guys. This might be the funniest comment I've seen so far in the chat. He has risen, number 9. All right, man. What is up, everybody? If you're in Dawsonville right now or somewhere near Dawsonville, sorry. I think you're gonna have a late ass night. I think it's gonna be a very late night for you. Why? Because Georgia's favorite son, Chase Elliott, has brought it back to victory lane for the first time in over a year. Chase Elliott now he's in the playoffs. They can stop asking about when he's going to win, right? All of that, best average finish, all that talk with Allen, all that stuff. For tonight, it doesn't matter because engine number 9, as Adam Alexander said, well, he won, and they are ringing that siren, as they call it, in Dawsonville. The most popular win, probably, honestly, more than the Texas one, probably the most popular win in a couple of years, if I had to guess. We are going to talk all about that. We're going to talk about the track blocker. We're going to talk about the TNT coverage and everything like that. But first, let's talk about what we saw tonight. The 2025 Quaker State 400. And by the way, if you see me like taking a picture, I'm getting the points ready for you. That way you guys can have it on the bottom of the screen when it's ready. But Chase Elliott wins a gauntlet of a race. 260 laps. There were 10 cautions for 68 laps of this thing, 2 red flags, 3 hours, 34 minutes, 54 seconds. I believe the longest race they've had at the New Atlanta since a reconfiguration. 45 lead changes, winning it by about just under 0.2 of a second, with a great push from Alex Bowman, team player, all the way to the end. Elliott gets the victory. From there, Brad Keselowski comes home in second position, so close to getting that breakthrough win to save his season. Alex Bowman third, Reddick fourth, Jones in fifth, Stenhouse sixth, Zane Smith seventh, Ty Dillon gets a top 10, 8th place finish, Busher up in 9th, and Carson Hocevar top 10. If I'm not mistaken, the entirety of the top 10 did not have a win before tonight. Then Zilich comes home 11th. 12th is AJ Allmendinger. 13th, Cody Ware. Then Gibbs, Priest, BJ McLeod in 16th, beating Kyle Larson in 17th. McDowell 18th. You got then after that, you have Custer coming home in the 19th spot, 20th for Austin Dillon. Kyle Busch, last one on the lead lap in 21st. Bubba Wallace comes home 3 laps down in 22nd. Same for Haley in 23rd and SVG in the 24th spot. 8 laps down for Gregson in 25th. John Hunter Nemechek 26th, 19 laps off the pace. Then 23 laps down for Todd Gilliland in 27th. And Riley Herbst last on track, 36 laps off the pace. 29th on down, out of this race. Collected in crashes, mechanical issues, both, you name it. Starr comes home in the 29th spot, then Bell 30th, Hamlin 31st, Barry 32nd, Chastain in 33rd, Suarez in 34th, Briscoe 35th, 36 goes to Joey Logano, followed by a 37th place finishing William Byron, 38th goes to Cindric, LaJoy 39th, and Ryan Blaney, caboose on the field, last place finish on the night. And we'll display the finishing order here. Let me know if I said anyone's names wrong. I will keep the chat here for you guys. But as unless TNT is messing up, as we're seeing on the TV right now, we have Chase Elliott pulling into victory lane, and it was a hard fought race in every single way. This race had everything people like about New Atlanta and super speedway racing and everything people hate about it. If you have a side you're on with this, you have something to back up your claim tonight. Was this a very racy race? Is Atlanta an amazing track racing wise when they're not crashing? Yeah, It blows Daytona and Talladega away when it comes to pure racing product out there without the crashing. Did the crashes get a little overboard and the cautions? Yeah, I would say so. You know, especially in the final stage when they really couldn't get a green flag run strung together for a while, when you have a track blocking wreck, stuff like that. Yeah, I think for that, it's very sloppy in a lot of ways. But again, I would argue in a lot of ways that the musical chairs of leaders, I think in a lot of ways might have overshadowed the bad that we saw tonight. You know, because Elliott, yeah, he won up there, but Brad Keselowski is putting on a masterclass of drafting. And they're showing the replay right now of the move with Bowman pushing him up there. Alex Bowman had a really great night and was racing up towards the front. Stenhouse charging at the end. Reddick charging at the end. Looking through this field, Gibbs was racing up front in a ton of this race after the big just race altering crash. So, there is a lot to this. Is this indicative of the 9 team getting better in general? No, not at all. It's a super speedway. It should be treated as such. Is this, though, something that can get that monkey off their back, maybe push the can down the road of getting that improvement? Yeah, I mean, it easily is. Before we go too far in and talk more point by point about this race, let me know out of 10 what you thought of it. A lot of people I saw were leaving their ratings. We have the poll up on the community tab right now, and shockingly, it is overwhelmingly positive. So let's see what we got. We got 8.5, 10, 8, 9, 69 out of 10. Nice. 9, 8, 9, 10. I'm shocked that NASCAR still has a 10. 9 out of 10, 0 here. 8, 9, 8, 9. So generally people are pretty positive with the way that tonight's race went, which I totally get. And yes, it's not just the racing part of it. It's the Chase Elliott tax. It's it's the popular driver. It's the hometown win. It's the story. I get that. Right. Do I think this is the best Atlanta race we've seen with this new configuration? Hell no. No, I don't think it's even close. But I think that also speaks very highly of Atlanta and their reconfiguration, or sorry, Echo Park, as everyone wants to call it on the broadcast. But I'll say this when it comes to Atlanta as well, and this goes towards Chase Elliott, Brad Keselowski, the guys that really were up front in this race. I would argue the drafting style here, it's a little more Russian roulette maybe than the other ones. A lot more with how the next gen is right now. But at the same time, it's very reminiscent of that old Daytona, wearing out track, very setup based, I would say, and very talent based when it comes to knowing your drafting skill. Brad Keselowski had the inferior tires at the end and was holding off the field for large swaths of that. Got, just in the wrong spot at the end because of how Chase Elliott and Alex Bowman choreographed that last lap. The last, and I get there wasn't a side-by-side finish or anything, but those are two expert drafters going head to head. And I don't think that part should be discounted in any way either. I don't want more of these 1.5 mile super speedways. I don't want extra Atlantas. I don't want Texas to be made into one, or Chicagoland or Kentucky, or all the different ideas people are shooting out there. But I'll say that this track is so unique for itself in that, and so unique, but in the driving style and the way the drivers approach it, all of that, it's very enjoyable coming here. And I got to say, it really gave old school Pepsi 400, Coke Zero 400 feel to it, with it almost being 4th of July, midsummer super speedway. I wouldn't be surprised with the Chicago street race leaving next year, more than likely, if this race gets moved to 4th of July weekend next year. Would not be surprised in the slightest on that. As long as it's not on 4th of July night, I'd be A-okay with that. let's go through the race itself. Then I want to talk about the TNT broadcast and everything with that, because I think there's a lot of source or substance to really dive into with that. I think there was a lot of good tonight with TNT, but I think there was a lot more bad than some people probably want to admit. And we'll go into all of that. But let's get into the race. Joey Logano starts on pole. Fords are first through eighth, amazing in qualifying. And you're just seeing the handling and the issues and all that go throughout. Brad Keselowski, I mean, he showed aggression earlier than anybody else in this race. At the end of the race, I think it was Chase Elliott's to lose. I think he had the better car, in my opinion. But the first half of this race, Brad Keselowski clearly did and was the one to beat. Other than a red flag for mist and all, it was pretty clean and green until we get it back restarted. And a crash ends the stage. That's the one that took Bell out. That's the one that took Blaney out. It involved a good amount. The 20 just got loose and there was a chain reaction. Cindric winning that. But in all honesty, nobody's going to remember that crash because lap 69, nice. We get it back going, and it's Elliott versus Buescher on the restart. Chase gets the push in one, and then everyone dies. It's like the story of I put it on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it. It was like the story of the ugly barnacle, right? The ugly barnacle was so ugly, everyone died. It was so good up there, everyone died. And we had this giant ass crash, an accordion effect, puts the 42 in the wall. Others start spinning around with that. The broadcast showed 24 involved. I saw as high as people counting 29 involved. I think that's a little too high because at that point there were 38 on the track and there were 9 ahead of the crash. So it's somewhere probably around 24, 25 cars involved based on what TNT had said, based on what some of the NASCAR socials had said. I would have to think it was the biggest crash of the year. Noah Coleman's counted 26. That looks like a pretty accurate list. It looks like the list I have. I have 2 lines full of just numbers of who was in that crash because it was just a track blocker. Absolute track blocker in every way. It reminded me of a mix of the 2005 Aaron's 499 and the 2014 Summer Daytona race, honestly. Like that's what it reminded me of, with just such a just enormous crash. Because at first you wouldn't, if you're watching the replay of that and you haven't seen it, you're thinking it's SVG going under the yellow line and it's 3 and 4 wide in that front part of the pack. You're thinking that's what's going to cause the crash, not right behind that. But that in and of itself completely changed the fabric of this race. We finally got the points. Took them long enough. And we can put those on the bottom line. I'm taking a picture of it just so that I can copy and basically paste them for you guys. But one of the things that I thought of when this happened, and I have to admit it was kind of weird thinking this, is there's been a lot of talk about like North Wilkesboro getting a points race. And if that were to happen, who gets the all-star race, right? Is it Rockingham? Is it, Charlotte getting it back? Is it, you name it. Who gets that race back, or, if they move North Wilkesboro? And I've heard a lot of people before talk about maybe what if you move the Clash to Atlanta, and I honestly thought that wouldn't be a great idea because I would think that there wouldn't be enough cars out there to have like a suitable draft or something like that, which I think is a reasonable thing to think. By the way, we're going to pop the points on the bottom here. So if you didn't catch them on the broadcast, here they are. I could totally see an all-star race or some kind of, because the Clash, I think it might be just a little too early, a little too cold, especially if you want to make it a night race in Georgia. But if you maybe switched what the Clash and the all-star race are, which I guess maybe it wouldn't be that cold. They do Bowman Gray, but you could totally do Atlanta, honestly, for either of those events. The racing is incredible. They had half the field. That would basically be what you'd get in a Clash or an All-Star race. It's a race we don't really care all that much about. Like if there's a big crash or people don't come home or with their car in one piece or any of that. Honest to God, I honestly thought that might be a good idea. I will not. There's no for Atlanta as the championship race. I know you're probably joking, but no, man, it's just it's a great track right now with the next gen, just about in every way. It is a great track with this car right now, and I can't wait to see what happens next. I'm so surprised in saying this because when this was initially done, I didn't like the first couple races there. Like 2022, I didn't think the racing was all that good at Atlanta compared to what we've had. But as the track wears, I think it's getting more character to it. I think it's getting more interesting in the way the racing is. It's not because there's big crashes. We just come to expect that with super speedways, and I know people bitch and moan about it, but I genuinely actually like this track a ton now. I wasn't crazy about the two races in 22. 23 started to turn me more. 24 was where it's like, holy shit, we got something special here. But when that happened, it got more aggressive when that big wreck happened. Like the big wreck happened, they spend, they red flagged the race a second time. They spend 10 laps under caution. They get it back going. And it felt like the race actually got more amped up in intensity after that. That they were just going balls to the wall, insane with their moves. Reddick was making moves, I know, at one point. Gibbs was making a ton of moves. Stenhouse was. And there was also, the no yellow when Stenhouse and Jones got together. You had some other wrecks and different things in the second stage, but Reddick wins it over Elliott, Buescher, Bowman, Jones, Ty Dillon, SVG, Smith, Nemechek, Keselowski. Most of that top 10 was the top 10 in the second part of this race, in the second half of this race, right? They were the best of the best up there cars wise at the end. And they it was the same people. Yes, you might not, because of so many people getting taken out, you didn't have as many crazy lead changes and all those things, but you could definitely tell, like, okay, this race isn't a lost cause. Who cares that so many cars got taken out? Like, it's still go time. Let's go. And a photo finish too to end the stage. Reddick barely beating Elliott to the line. I thought the second stage after the wreck was just, it was awesome. It was the best of what Atlanta has to offer. Now, the final stage, in my opinion, got a little more sloppy. I still think this is far and away the best race of the weekend. The truck race earlier today was a snoozer. The Xfinity race last night was a complete just cluster. There's plenty of what the hell are they putting on screen? Sorry, I have it muted on the post-race show, so I have no idea what the hell this Shannon Spake and Dale Jr. sleeping thing is, but that's weird. But get it back to the final stage here. This is where it started to just stop and go. 85 to go, you get a wreck, then a restart, 3 laps, another wreck with Bubba. Get it back going, four laps, another wreck, and it just is sort of constant. Stop and go. And at that point, I don't blame people for being like, oh God, it's late. This race already was delayed. Like, I'll see the results tomorrow kind of thing. Totally don't blame you. Because there was no real rhythm with it. We got some Dale Jr. jump scares, car on the wall and all that. But there was no real rhythm to this race until about 53 or 55, somewhere in that range to go. They get it back going. Field starts lining up, logs some laps for a bit. Brad, Chase fighting for the lead, back and forth. Of course, then you had the caution for Haley, and it just sort of started doing that again a little bit. You're like, oh, great. Now we're going to get really dumb. With 28 to go, 9-6 restart. 6 gets the push. It's Roush versus Hendrick up front. 17 of Buescher was a team player all night. Bowman was a team player at the end of this race with Elliott. And you had those fresh tires too in the back. Top 9 had stayed out, and you have the fresh tires, the 45, the 43 are charging their way up. 77, all damage and everything is charging his way up. And you start having the musical chairs again. Zane Smith goes for the lead. Reddick goes for the lead, gets freight trained. Brad now is putting on, again, in my opinion, a drafting and side drafting and blocking masterpiece in this race. I thought was awesome how he was able to keep the lead after so many different people going up there, because he wouldn't keep it necessarily every single lap, but it's like if the 38 got it or Bowman got it, well, then he'd fight his way back up. Stenhouse with 7 to go makes this awesome 3-wide pass. Brad, a lap later, comes back and gets the lead. He's holding it off from the 45, the 47, the 9. With 2 to go, it's Brad, Reddick. I have it written down here. Brad, Reddick, Elliott, and Stenhouse. The 48's nowhere to be found. 9 gets a second behind the 6, though. 48 jumps out at the white flag. Elliott gets the lead back with that push from Bowman. I'll tell you what, you Elliott fans are happy out there. Be happy. You better thank Alex Bowman for that, because, again, team player. We've seen this happen before where the 48 and the most popular driver are team players at super speedways, and it works out pretty well for both of them. I would argue that Chase owes him one, honestly. I would argue that Chase owes Bowman one. Chase gets the win, of course. Sound the siren, everything else you're going to put about it. All the people that love Elliott are going to go nuts, as you guys have been. Everybody else is going to go just, bitching and moaning about him. It's the same thing every time most popular driver wins. When this guy won, it's the same damn thing. Overall, again, I think this race, I was ready to give this race like a 3 after that big wreck where I'm like, oh man, it's going to be like 20. I was getting flashbacks to attending the 2021 Daytona 500, right? I was like, oh my God, here we go. We're going to run in a train for most of the day, or maybe we'll have 2 trains. There's not enough cars to make runs. But again, I think the racing got better when they whittled down the pack a bit more. And I can't give this a 10. I know a lot of people are like, if you don't give this a perfect score, you're not a real NASCAR fan. Whatever. Okay. But I can't say in any way that this was a bad race. Was it sloppy at times? Sure. But there's plenty of great races that are sloppy races. I thought it was a good race. Of course, we all know our favorite parody account here. Maybe it's not a parody account. NASCAR shill, 10 out of 10. I get that. But I can't even say that it was like just a good race. I thought it was it was top end good, I should say, maybe lower end great. I'd give it probably an 8, honestly. Would I put it like in that 10 range? Hell no. This is nothing close to the 24 spring race, which I think was the best race this configuration is put on. I can't put it there, but it was way better than last fall. I would argue it could be better than better or around where the spring race was this year, right? I thought this was a really fun and enjoyable race. And I would think most fans, you take out the winner, whether positive bias or negative bias with it, I would think most would say the same. I mean, I'll go back to my poll really quick. Again, it's on the community tab. I'm looking at it now, and I might get a prediction wrong when it comes to net positivity. I thought we were going to be below 90. It's looking like we're going to be well above 90 on that. On the post-race show, which credit to TNT for doing that. They didn't have to. It's late at night. I'll say this, and then we're saying shut up. Sort of the point of the show to have me just yap. But okay. Unless you're talking to somebody else, then I don't know. Y'all settle that among each other. They're showing the in-season challenge tournament bracket, drinking game. Every time they say bracket, take a shot. No, not you, Iceberg. No problem. Settle among each other. No problem at all. Uh, so I think that we can kind of shift over to talking about TNT here. I think there's a lot of talk about this with the bracket that they're showing, with more or less a lot of the same pieces from Prime, and then a lot of the same at least a couple of the same pieces will go over to NBC after their 5-race stint runs. There were things I liked. I liked the enthusiasm. I liked the people involved with TNT, right? I like the booth. I think the booth carrying over from Prime is perfect. They have good chemistry with each other. I think the pit reporters did a fine job. I think that they, I was happy to see Alan Cavana get a good chance. Man deserves it. I can't say though I thought it was really a good broadcast. For one, and I like the idea of the in-season challenge and tournament and all that. I think they focused way too much on the bracket. I know a lot of people care about it. That's fine. I think it's fun, right? Mine's completely destroyed. I can't wait to see though whose will get as far as they will. Nothing against that, and I honestly have liked that idea since they first talked about implementing it. I felt like that it reminded me of NBC when they go overboard, like playoffs. And it's like, for the love of God, there's still a race going on with X amount of other people. Like, that's how I kind of felt with this, where it's like, okay, it's fun. We can talk about the bracket, but we have an entire alt cast devoted to the bracket with the mayor and America's crew chief. Like, we don't need to have the main broadcast talking this much about it. And I know that's not something I think that the people during it are like just spur of the moment saying. I think a lot of it is like the network is pushing it. They pushed it in their advertising. They pushed it with everything. And so be it. I mean, the entire reason, outside of just paying, the money that NASCAR wanted to take from TNT, the entire, I think, reason that TNT is here is to do something to get this doldrums of the summer through July through with us fans, so they can keep some kind of momentum up or something like that. That was, again, it's a nitpick. I will fully admit that. The other part is I definitely thought it was a much more clunky broadcast. And I think it's because I'm spoiled with Prime. I don't think it was as good as CW broadcast. Prime is in another league. I don't think it was as good as CW. I think it was better than Fox, but I think it had a lot of the same issues, graphic errors and sound errors, like to the point that they were like 3 or 4 seconds off with sound at different points. And I think even Dale Jr. at one point pointed it out, which I'm sure the director is like, Dale, shut up. Like, it was definitely more clunky. I am spoiled after 5 weeks of not having full season commercial or a full screen commercials. I'm spoiled. I'll admit it. But right now, if I had to like tier list it, it's Prime is way up here, completely out of reach. CW is kind of like right here. TNT to me is kind of here. And then, Fox is down here. If I had to say based on last year, I would probably put NBC. I would put NBC above TNT. And my worry is, the best broadcast usually for Fox every year, when they're not over shoving commercials with it, is the Daytona 500. It's a big race. You want to impress people. You want to keep people in, right? It's usually that one. The biggest race for Prime this year was the Coke 600, the crown jewel, first race in. You want to impress people, all that. CW, it was Daytona. That was their best broadcast so far of the year, in my opinion. And I think this will be TNT's best broadcast of the year. And if it goes down in any way, I think there's going to be actual serious problems with it. I like that they're doing a post-race show. People ask me like, oh, do you not like the main broadcast chewing into your post-race? No. It's not my job to have the post-race show. It's their job. They should be doing this. Same thing with Prime. And I like that. And I like that they're interviewing a ton of different drivers. Now, granted, looks like, again, I haven't muted because I don't want to get copyrighted. Looks like it's a lot about the bracket challenge stuff, which, whatever, that's their thing. But I explained how I am with that. But right now, for me, if I had to give it out of 10 grade, Prime was a 10 out of 10 for me. I loved it. Like, I gave it an A, right? CW this year, I'm giving like a B, B plus. Fox, I think I gave like a D minus. TNT is just average to me. I think that the people, the personnel involved elevate TNT more than they probably deserve, honestly. If you wanted me to be completely honest with that, I think Dale Jr., Steve Letarte, Adam Alexander have great chemistry and they're elevating it. I think Danielle Trotta and Alan Cavana, Marty Snyder have elevated it. And Shannon Spake is great, as well as the rest, just pretty much everybody else. Like, they're a great crew. And they elevated what I think in any other time is a mediocre broadcast, personally. I wasn't expecting anything really too much. I think I had said earlier that if they hit the CW level, I'll be impressed. But this is kind of what I expected from them. And again, I can't stress enough, I think we're all very spoiled from Prime. Yeah, that's another thing. The camera angles in this race were just odd at times. Personally, like I thought that they were. I think the alt cast, because I did tune in a little of that, just because, like, if you want something hyper focused on that bracket challenge, I thought that was actually pretty well done. Plus, again, you have two very knowledgeable people, one of the most popular people in the NASCAR world, Larry Mack. Like, it should be good. But hey, man, you know what? It is what it is. And worst comes to it, if they're not your cup of tea, it's just 5 weeks. And then it's back to NBC, which we know is a solid, consistent team broadcast, all of that. Let's put the finishing order back down the bottom here. But no, I mean, all in all, I had fun tonight. And that's what I want out of my NASCAR races. I want to have fun. I want to enjoy myself when I watch these races. And again, completely truthfully, I did. I enjoyed myself tonight. I enjoyed the race. There were plenty of aspects of the broadcast I did enjoy. I know I bitched and moaned and put out my gripes, but I really did enjoy Atlanta, which that should be the standard. With that, let's go to the super chats here to finish off tonight. I think there were a couple left before we went live, and if anything changes or whatever, or there's a fight or something, we can react. But Gooby's Fun Zone for the 5 said, what if every car crashes out before the halfway point? Is it still an official race, or would they have to rerun the race tomorrow with backup cars? They'd basically wait till somebody finally repaired it enough to finish the race. I would think. They've never had to really do that in the modern era. Let's see. Yeah, the super chat cooldown lap. Thank you, Spencer. I appreciate you reminding me to say the real name of it. Ross Crastain with the 20-month member chat saying Chase fans owe Bowman a beer for the assist. Yeah, trust me, I'm gonna have a beer before the end of the night because I'm wired right now. Grant here said, who's worse, Leg or Star? Thing is, they both have crappy cars. I don't know. I mean, Catherine Leggs had the lower lows so far, but Star also is not really that much in this car either. I'm calling it a wash. Let's see. 3 here says, congrats to Zane Smith, only car without a ding. Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Josh Wise for the Canadian 99. I'm sure that is Josh Wise, the former driver. Derek here says Star with the worst performances of the year for the two. I mean, it was pretty bad at the end there, man. It was pretty bad, all things considered. SW says absolute cinema. TNT put Fox to shame. That's not hard though. Like, I would be concerned if TNT wasn't leagues above Fox. Let's see. Savage Cucumber with the 5 says, what are the odds Michael chooses Chase and he wins? I mean, he was pretty steadfast on Chase Elliott winning this race. And he looks like a genius because the rest of our picks all crashed out in that big ass crash. So Michael Roots with the galaxy brain move there. Isaac, hot take, that was not TNT's best coverage. I think it's a hot take from what most people are saying. I think a lot of people did like it. I mean, we can leave a poll with this actually. I do want to know what you guys think of TNT's coverage, because I could be completely in the minority of this. So let's put that there. And we'll just do the poll like we normally do for the race. We'll do great. We'll do good. We'll do average. And we'll do not. We'll do not good instead of negative. Let me know. Poll is up now. Let's see. Where did we leave off? We left off with Isaac. So Snappier says, I've never seen a race go from a shit show to an absolute banger so hard. Absolute cinema. The end of that race was great. I'm sorry. I know we didn't have our, side by side beating and banging finish to the line. I know we didn't have all that stuff, but that was fun. That was super speedway racing. That's what I want to see at Daytona and Talladega. I want to see guys be able to control their own destiny, make those runs, do those kind of moves. That's what we've been missing, in my opinion. We've been missing that from super speedway racing, and I make Daytona and Talladega Atlanta-like. Cavs fan says he did it. The pain is gone. Great race, Chase. Yes. Congratulations again to all you Elliott fans. I know you guys are going to be up partying all damn night. It's a great run race by Chase. There's no other way to put it. Cameron with 5 says, I thought TNT's coverage was really good. Not as good as Prime, which was expected since TNT is linear TV, but still very good and on par with CW. Again, I thought it was, like I said, average, decent, whichever way you want to put it. I personally wouldn't put it on the same level as CW, but CW has kind of, I think the thing is CW has had more time for people to find the flaws. If there were, again, I said the same thing after Prime. If it was after 5 weeks with the CW, nobody would be, I think, putting all the flaws that people say. I think CW is better personally. The Polish hardware store with the 20 here says, Cindric stage 1 win. Bummed my boy got wrecked super early, but that racing was amazing. Plus, super happy for Chase. Yeah, I mean, the racing was great. And it really, I think, washed away the bad taste at the start of the race. Between the rain, mist, whatever, between, all the weather stuff. Now we go to Chicago, which always seems to have weather issues. I guess I can look up really quick. Since it's not like we, have a time limit here. I guess we can look up what the weather looks like next week for Chicago. Maybe it's better. Isolated thunderstorms Saturday and Sunday. Why am I surprised? Why am I surprised? NASCAR's coming to town. But at least it's not the heat of the day, so maybe we can avoid them and maybe just get the end rained out instead of, cutting the race shorter and shorter. Shocker. Just absolute shocker. I'll be up in Northern Illinois, so I'll know if it's happening. Mittens for the 2 says, if someone has a bracket alive, isn't it real, or it isn't real? Yeah, I don't think anyone has a bracket that's going to be perfect or even close at this point. And we all knew that with it being Atlanta in the first one. Michael with the 14-month member chat says, crazy crash Chase sums it up. Hashtag why I love NASCAR. Yeah. I mean, this was, again, I think I gave it an 8. I will stick with an 8. I think that, and for me, I tier these things differently. So an 8 to me is very high praise. 10 is rare territory. You only get maybe 1, 2, maybe 3 a year if you're lucky. 9, we get a lot, you get a little bit more. But 8 is right around there too. So, let's see. M Block 150 says, amazing coverage from TNT. What an all-time classic Atlanta. I mean, Echo Park Speedway race. Yeah. Sorry. I mean, Echo Park could try and sponsor the podcast, and I still would not want to call Atlanta Echo Park. Andrew says the drivers have to stop trying to be heroes so early. This is why I prefer the old school points. Everyone is the lol cow of the week. Yeah, I mean, again, the way NASCAR is now, it incentivizes going all out every single lap and not really saving stuff or anything like that. So I see your point, man. I see it. I agree personally. Justin with the 20 says, hang the banner, Chase Elliott fans. Here's your one win when the better cars, the Fords and all the good Joe Gibbs cars, got wrecked on a day that had no skill and all luck involved. Tell us how you really feel, Justin. Damn. Again, though, I think there's a little more talent based in the Atlanta style drafting than the other super speedways. So like I'll give Chase his flowers still. But again, like I said, this race, for any opinion you have on the sport, it is going to give you ammo to your point. I think that's the best way to put this race so far. Again, if you think Chase Elliott's back, that was a great race. It's momentum. He's building up. He's in the playoffs, all that. If you think Chase Elliott's a fluke, overrated, he won at a super speedway. Anyone could have done that, and he had to have his teammate help him. You can get it on either side. I'm a little more positive, though. At least more positive than a lot of people in the chat. Josh Santos says 10 out of 10 race. The tourney is going to be nuts with a 45-month member chat. Thank you. Damn, that is commitment. It's almost 4 years. NASCAR Shill for the 2 says, thank you, Steve O'Donnell, for that great Gen 7 car. I'm not shocked that NASCAR Shill is happy with NASCAR. And by the way, I will say I'm not taking anything away from this win with Chase because he did earn it. I'm with Jeffrey King in the chat on that one. Let's see. Roddy8_diecast says Atlanta is the best drafting track for Cup easily. So true. Easily the best of the super speedway style races for the NASCAR Cup Series. And again, I want the package of Daytona and Talladega. If the Daytona 500 raced like Atlanta, it would definitely be seen in a much better light than it is now. It'd be seen so much more of a, I fear to say legitimate light, but I would say probably more of a legitimate light. Let's see. Beast of Metal 1989 says, good thing baby Daytona is a thing, and that Elliott's skilled at maneuvering the mini draft because zombies would starve on Gustafson's head. Again, though, sometimes you got to trust your driver out there. I'm not saying it was the right call. I personally, I was with Dale Jr., would have given him fresh tires, maneuverability every time. And Dale knows that. I mean, look at how he did with DEI back in the day and even the latter years at Hendrick. But it worked out, man. It still worked out. And that's what mattered. The Polish hardware store here with the 2 says, let's repave Texas into a super speedway. No. Unless Atlanta starts racing like a normal intermediate again, no. I don't want to oversaturate. I will die on this hill. I do not want to oversaturate the schedule with more super speedways. We have enough. They make up 6 of the 36 races. We do not need another one because, if it happened with Texas, they already have great attendance. They do have generally good ratings. They'd probably go up with a super speedway. They'd probably add a second Texas race, and nearly a quarter of the races would be super speedway. So no. I know where you're coming from, but no, absolutely not. Steve-O says, hot take. Next year, go to the 1.5 mile package for Atlanta and give Texas the Atlanta treatment. Okay, yeah, again, that's the only way I'd be on board with that, is if you made Atlanta back to an intermediate, if it got too worn out, and you had to keep slowing the cars down too much to make that race happen that way. Vikings all day. Nice. For the 20 says, good race aside from Elliott winning. I see what side you're on this argument. Still think the in-season tournament reeks of copying stick and ball sports. I mean, it is a copy and paste of the NBA, but I don't hate it as much as I thought I would. Also, can we get more Saturday night races? Again, I've been on board with it just because it doesn't change anything points-wise. I think it'd be generally pretty fun. TNT is doing threads. God, man. I quit threads. And I held on to it longer than most people did. And I was just more or less because there were some people on there that I talked to. Yeesh. As for Saturday night races, ratings don't support it. Uh, you know, maybe if this one has some good ratings, they might do more. I doubt it though. Uh, as for the other ones, I mean, Daytona does decent. Probably could do better as a Sunday night race, honestly, though, at the end of the summer. Richmond was pretty awful when it was a Saturday night race. Bristol is the lowest watch race of the year. I will say I enjoy having a Sunday off tomorrow. That's going to be nice. Rusted Valor with the 5 says, how to win Chase Elliott edition. Step 1, cause a wreck that takes out most of the best cars on the grid. Step 2, profit. Sucks for Pyro. Oh, man. That's going to be the narrative all week. I can already see it. I can already see it. Elijah says, I correctly predicted the Ty Dillon upset, baby. A lot of people did. I noticed a lot of people did. And I got my prediction right that he'd get a top 10 this year. So, Danny, if you're watching, I canceled your prediction out. Steven says TNT making Fox level mistakes like showing Custer in the 38 in a graphic and random camera shots of the backstretch when the pack is on the front. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. I can't say I thought it was a good broadcast. I thought it was an average, mediocre at best. And I know what a broadcast that looks good is here because NBC had Atlanta and Chicago last year. So better than Fox, but again, too many Foxisms tonight. Steve-O with the 5 says, y'all see Austin Hill picking on a driver half his size after the race. He wonders why he's still in Xfinity. Well, I mean, y'all call him the big bully. I guess he's just living up to your expectations. Rusted Valor with the 5 says, to clarify, Elliott blocks top, checks up the whole lane, and that causes the big one. Not his fault 100%, but I don't care. Ticked me off. No need to go too far. It's all good. Like no need to apologize. Let's see. New Zealand NASCAR Project says fantastic run for SVG at the track that took the life of our first NASCAR driver 40 years ago this month, Stuart Linden. The more I know. Mark with 5 says more lead changes than my high school mechanical pencil. That's a very interesting way to go about saying that. Justin with the 10 says, the only 3 minor things I want to point out is I'm still upset with the ticker is still on the left of the screen. Yeah, but I will say it is more practical. I just wish it wasn't such tiny, tiny text. The lap counter lettering was way too small. Again, I'm just getting ahead of myself there. And 1 full screen commercial, caution side by side. Yeah. Again, they're just, for me, the more I think about it, the less I was liking TNT. Flying Cactus with a $5 super sticker. I'm sure you were happy for points with riding the Dente up towards the front. Atmos for the 5 says, thanks for the coverage, Mr. Iceberg. No problem. I like doing it. Try to end this on an interesting question. Why do you think NASCAR is so focused on international expansion? Because there is money with it. And there is at least with international expansion for a lot of these American leagues and series and racing and all, you have the incentive of billions of people around the world that could potentially be your fans, rather than America where there's millions, you're setting the culture the way it is, you can break into a new one. You see the NBA, how they kind of became China's bitch. The NFL has been all over Europe and now Brazil. F1 you see as a worldwide brand, and now it's getting popular in America. And so it's getting more popular to be international like that. I get a lot of people don't like that and think that we need to be more just America. But international does not mean we have to go to, a country halfway across the world or one that's sports washing with their blood money or anything. Like international can be like what we saw a couple weeks ago. Mexico. I think Canada should get a race or two because I think their fans are loyal NASCAR fans. I've noticed it in my analytics, among other things. Just it all boils down to money. Justin Drake with the 5 says, me watching the race. Hey, Tony and Home Depot are back. Let's go. Cue the 34. not 2012 Talladega again. I will say that the Brad Keselowski car reminded me so much of that. Like a few times I had to do double takes. I'm like, wait a minute. Oh, okay. But yeah, I appreciate everybody coming out tonight. Late night. It's already past midnight again on the East Coast. Not here though, so I have a little more time. So we'll be live on Danny's channel for NWP July the 2nd, Wednesday night. I will not be in the normal location. For longtime fans, you probably know what that means. So I can't wait to be live. Videos kind of going to be coming out Monday on through the week and getting ready for Chicago, the 4th of July and all that. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you guys so much for coming on in. I appreciate it a ton. Can't wait to see you through the week and enjoy the Sunday off. One of the few all year. Thank you guys so much for coming out. Have a great night, and I'll see you during the weekend next weekend. Bye.